Just shown were a few of the physical limitations and challenges that young men with Duchenne muscular dystrophy may face on a daily basis. But these physical limitations may also bear a heavy burden mentally and emotionally on these young men. So today I have with me Mr. John Killian, who is a board member of the organization Parent Project Muscular Dystrophy. He himself has a son diagnosed with Duchenne, and he's going to share a few insights and experiences within the world of muscular dystrophy, particularly in regards to the emotional and mental burden that young men may face and the mechanisms with which they cope with these challenges. Thank you so much for being willing to do this interview.
No problem at all.
So to start, could you give a brief, intro about your background in the world of Duchenne, and also why you became a board member of Parent Project Muscular Dystrophy?
Sure. So our son Sam, who's our fourth child, was diagnosed, I guess 13 years ago when he was 3 years old with Duchenne. And at the time, I didn't really know anything about the disease after the sort of initial shock wore off. And I'm not certain the shock has worn off even 13 years later. But,
yeah.
We started looking at what we could do. And so eventually found my way to Pat Furlong. Interestingly, I just happened to be on the internet. It's a dangerous place sometimes when you get disease. I've got plenty of other stories from the internet that didn't end well, but I found Pat and I emailed her at 4 o'clock in the morning. It was some sort of sleepless nights and everything else, and I just figured I'll email her, she'll get back to me later today. She responded in 10 minutes, and she responded with a lot of information, a lot of knowledge, a lot of hope.
So the Parent Project Muscular Dystrophy website has, under its support page, notes that upon diagnosis of DMD, families often have a reaction that includes confusion, anger, fear, depression, and even feelings of guilt. And it even notes that sometimes there's acute grief reactions. So did your family experience any of these emotions or thoughts during the process of being diagnosed?
Yeah, and still do. It was probably a good 3 months before my wife and I could even talk about it. And then you get this diagnosis, and it's like, just a slap in the face. It's a real tough diagnosis. I think it's like a lot of things. Your first reaction is grief, and you kind of don't ever get over that. But then the next step is come back and try and fight it.
Steve Frenary described it as a draining of happiness just throughout the progression sometimes. How does this, diagnosis and disease progression impact Sam?
You're diagnosed at 4, 5, 6. You can't understand long-term implications of things, but we've always given Sam the name of his disease. He knows he has Duchenne. He knows that it's a muscle disease and it's going to cause weakness. When we felt like the time was right, we talked to him about the longer-term implications. I think Sam deals with it really well. He acknowledges and talks to people about having a disease, and he's able to talk about what its implications are. But that's pretty heavy for a 16-year-old kid. So he goes to a counselor and talks to somebody about stuff like that. How they live their reality, no matter what it is. We all would do better, I think, just live in our own reality.
Are there any specific limitations of Duchenne or I guess missed milestones that you believe bear the greatest burden emotionally on either young men with Duchenne or their families?
A teenage kid having relationships is important. It's hard enough having normal abilities and dealing with high school relationships and things like that.
Yeah.
And so I think that's one of the most difficult things.
And what would be, I guess, the ways that young men with Duchenne can cope specifically with this, I guess, relational limitation sometimes? Like, are there support groups that seem to be effective, or other programs?
What's been cool about being involved with PPMD, when I first got involved with PPMD, we have an annual conference, and people would bring their families to the annual conference, and that's how we've met a lot of our best friends. We have great friends around the country. Sam's got friends around the country, and I think that's pretty helpful.
And PPMD has a page on their website that's fully devoted to educating parents about the psychosocial health of their child with DMD. And it even shares a PDF of the book, The Psychology of Duchenne Muscular Dystrophy. But in your experiences with the Duchenne community, how much attention do you believe is actually given to, I guess, the psychosocial aspect of DMD? Is it an aspect that you think is typically overlooked, or is it something that's well addressed within this disease and the community?
I think it's growing in importance. It wasn't always understood that the disease itself causes some differences in a lot of kids' brains. You've got to deal with all of the little stuff along the way, and it can have a big impact, sort of in your overall well-being. And I think that's just as important as, all the stretching and physical things that you do dealing with sort of the mental aspects of it.
And do you believe that there should be, I guess, more emphasis? I know you mentioned that it's starting to become more into the awareness of families of Duchenne, but do you think that there should be more emphasis placed on addressing the psychosocial or emotional health of young men with DMD, or do you believe that it's already effectively being addressed?
No, I definitely think there needs to be a lot more emphasis on it. I think that's probably the place that more people lack than anything. So, if you say that, sort of 25% of kids aren't even getting, sort of the bare minimum physical care, it's probably 50% of kids are not getting the mental care support that they need. So, me personally, I would say every kid with Duchenne ought to be, seeing some kind of counselor or therapist and getting help with those kind of things. That's clearly not the case. And so, that's something we had to go out and do separately. So, you can tell you're dealing with that many doctors, that many specialists. It's hard to fit that in, but where he's at right now, that's maybe, to me, I think, the most important part of his well-being.
Besides that, are there any specific programs you think that would be helpful to assist, like emotionally, mentally, young men in their journey with Duchenne?
I think that something in the schools to help, and maybe this applies to all kids, but something to help deal with social implications when you're dealing with something like this. I think they really struggle with the kid that doesn't fit the mold, and they make all the physical accommodations for him. He is able to get between classes fine and all that sort of thing, but nobody really knows how to deal with the kids that's a little bit different. And I just think that there could be some emphasis put on that.
And then my last question is just, do you have any specific message that you would want to communicate?
I always try and help people get comfortable with the reality that these kids face. And the first time I was around older boys with Duchenne and in their wheelchairs, I wasn't sure how to act and wasn't as comfortable as I am now. But I always try and tell my friends, yes, you feel uncomfortable, but don't let that change how you talk to people, how you act towards people. And once you get past the wheelchair or the medical equipment or other things, people are just like the rest of us. And so I always try and encourage people to get past that stuff and get past your comfort level. I encourage people to just reach out and look past some of that stuff that might make them feel uncomfortable. The last thing is to not make assumptions. Just because you don't have one ability doesn't mean that you don't have other abilities.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for sharing all of that.
Sure.
And all the other insights and experiences that you've had. I really appreciate you sharing your whole story and everything you've experienced with Sam and your whole family.
No problem at all. I enjoyed talking with you, and I appreciate this project. I think it's really neat.
As previously mentioned, PPMD has put forth a booklet called The Psychology of Duchenne Muscular Dystrophy as a helpful resource to families. One section helps parents learn how to guide their sons through their emotional obstacles. Another notes that boys will need to adjust their lifestyles as they experience changes in dependence, hostility, anxiety and depression, and certainly relationships with their friends. Those affected by Duchenne are encouraged to read this booklet and the other resources on the PPMD website, and to reach out to the DMD community as they try to navigate through the mental and emotional challenges of Duchenne. And to those who are not directly affected by Duchenne, as John Killian said, be willing to step out of your comfort zone in order to come alongside someone experiencing this disease, whether you are fundraising or simply building friendships. Thank you for watching.